Are you able to see the screen? Okay. Screen is visible, students?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible.
Okay, fine. Here we have discussed about the Biot-Savart law, and next we have discussed how to find the magnetic field intensity due to infinitely long conductor, straight conductor. We have derived the equation in the last class, and also the equation for magnetic field intensity due to straight conductor of finite length. These two equations we have derived in our previous class, starting with the Biot-Savart law. Next is sign convention for alpha 1 and alpha 2. In the last class, the equation that we derived, that is for the h bar due to straight conductor of finite length, h bar due to straight conductor of finite length, the length is finite. For such a finite length straight conductor, what is the magnetic field intensity h bar at the point P? That we have found out the equation for that, and that is h bar is equal to I divided by 4 pi r sine alpha 2 minus sine alpha 1 A5 bar ampere per meter. Here alpha 1 is this angle, that is from the point P to the lower end of the conductor. Then alpha 2 is the angle between the point of interest, that is point P, and the upper end of the conductor. Here we have alpha 1 and alpha 2. Now here these angles, that is alpha 1 and alpha 2, they can be both positive, they can be both negative, and one can be positive and another one can be negative. We can have three combinations of the two angles, alpha 1 and alpha 2, and this is what is called as the sign convention of the angles, right? That we are going to study next. Sign convention for alpha 1 and alpha 2. This is the point of interest P. This is the lower end of the conductor, say it is at point 1, and the higher end of the conductor, say it is at point 2. The angles subtended by the lower end and higher end are alpha 1 and alpha 2. Now if we look into this figure, then both the lower end and the upper end of the conductor, they are above the point P of interest. If we observe this figure, the lower end, that is point 1, and the higher end, that is point 2, these two are above the point P, and hence the angle subtended by the point 1 and point 2 will be both positive. That is alpha 1 will be positive between the point P and the lower end, and alpha 2 between the point P and the, that is the angle subtended from the line joining the point 2 and the point P, and the line subtending from the origin to the point P, that is angle alpha 2. Both alpha 1 and alpha 2 are positive here in the first figure. Now if we look into the second figure, right, that is point P is here, and this is the conductor, finite length conductor. It is having the lower end, that is point 2, and still lower end is point 1. Now if we look here, what we can see, both the ends of the conductor, that is higher end and the lower end of the conductor, both are below the point P of interest, and hence the angles subtended by these two are negative. The angles subtended by both the angles, that is alpha 1 and alpha 2, both are negative because both the higher end and the lower end of the conductor are below the point P of interest. This is the second figure. If we come to the third figure, in the third figure, as we can see, this is the point of P of interest. Then the conductor is placed in such a way that the lower end of the conductor, it is subtending angle alpha 1, that is below the point P, and the upper end of the conductor, it is at point 2, and it is subtending the angle alpha 2, which is above the point P, which is above the point P. That is alpha 1 is negative and alpha 2 is positive. This is what we can see in the third figure. Alpha 1 is negative and alpha 2 is positive. Alpha 1 is negative because the lower end is below the point P, and alpha 2 is positive because the upper end, it is above the point P. Upper end is above the point P. Hence alpha 1 is negative whereas alpha 2 is positive. That is what is written here. Alpha 2 is positive and alpha 1 is negative. This is the sign convention for alpha 1 and alpha 2. Okay, just you have to remember when will be alpha 1 and alpha 2 positive, when they will be both negative, and when one will be positive and when one another one will be negative. Okay, let us solve one example on the magnetic field intensity. Any difficulty here, students, in this? I hope it is clear. The sign convention is simple. Then we'll solve an example. Find the magnetic field intensity at 1.5, 2, 3 due to a conductor carrying current of 24 ampere along Z axis extending from Z equal to 0 to Z equal to 6. Note down this example. Find the magnetic field intensity at 1.5, 2, 3 due to a conductor carrying current of 24 ampere along Z axis extending from Z equal to 0 to Z equal to 6. Taken, students? Note down the statement and the figure, then we'll solve it. Did you all take it?
Yes, sir. Taken.
Just a minute, students. Sorry for the interruption, students. So here we have to find the magnetic field density at the point P of 1.5, 2, 3. This is the coordinate of the point P. Then the current carrying conductor, it is carrying the current of 24 ampere and it is along the Z axis. The current carrying conductor is along the Z axis, extending from Z equal to 0 to Z equal to 6. That is, it is placed, lower end is placed at the origin and the higher end is placed at the that is from the distance 6 from the origin. Okay, so the coordinates of the upper end are 0, 0, 6, whereas the coordinates of the lower end are 0, 0, 0. And it is carrying the current of 24 ampere. Its elemental length is dl. Now let us consider the sign convention here in the second figure. This is the point P of 1.5, 2, 3. It is on the Z axis. This is the origin. Then when we consider the perpendicular distance from the point P, it is at a distance r. The distance r from the point P to the Z axis is at a perpendicular distance of small r. Okay, it is at a distance of perpendicular distance of small r. The angle subtended is alpha 1 here. The lower end subtends an angle of alpha 1. The higher end is subtending an angle of alpha 2. Higher end is subtending an angle of alpha 2. Okay. Now this is a sign convention. Accordingly, what will be alpha 1 and alpha 2? Which one is positive and which one is negative here? Alpha 1 is negative or positive? Yes, alpha 1 is positive or negative?
Negative, sir.
Negative because it is
Below the P line. Below
the point P. What about alpha 2?
Positive.
Unmute. You have to. Others unmute your cell phones. When the others are answering, please unmute your mute your cell phones. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Now what about alpha 2? Alpha 2 is positive because it is above the point P of interest. Right? Alpha 1 is negative and alpha 2 is positive. Let's perform the calculation step by step. This is the dot operator table. We'll be using this dot operator table, that is conversion from Cartesian to cylindrical and conversion from cylindrical to Cartesian, because it's along the Z axis here. The Z axis, it is the axis of the cylinder. We are calculating in terms of cylindrical coordinate system. Alpha 2 angle, that is tan alpha 2. If we consider tan alpha 2 is equal to opposite side by adjacent side. Opposite side is 6 minus 3, that is 3, and adjacent side is r. It is 3 divided by r. Tan alpha 2 is equal to 3 divided by r. From this to this is 3. From here to here it is 6. 6 minus 3 is 3. Tan alpha 2 is 3 divided by r, or alpha 2 is equal to tan inverse of 3 by r. Alpha 2 is equal to tan inverse of 3 by r. Alpha 1, come to alpha 1. Tan alpha 1 is opposite side by adjacent side. Opposite side is 3, adjacent side is r. But alpha 1 is negative. Therefore, alpha 1 is equal to minus tan inverse of 3 by r. Alpha 1 is equal to minus tan inverse of 3 by r. Write it. Alpha 1 is equal to minus tan inverse of 3 by r. For point P, they are given the coordinates x equal to 1.5, y equal to 2, and z equal to 3. It is in Cartesian. Correct? X equal to 1.5, y equal to 2, and z equal to 3. Therefore, r is equal to r in terms of cylindrical system. X, y, z, it is in Cartesian. In cylindrical, it is r, phi, and z. R is given by the equation square root of x square plus y square. We have studied this in module 1. Conversion from Cartesian to cylindrical and conversion from cylindrical to Cartesian. R is given by square root of x square plus y square. X is 1.5, 1.5 square plus 2 square. It is how much? 1.5 square is 2.25. 2 square is 4. 4 plus 2.25 is 6.25. Square root of 6.25 is 2.5. Because 625 square root is 25. And if we take the decimal point, it will be 2.5. Okay. Therefore, R is given by R is equal to square root of x square plus y square. That comes out to 2.5. This is in cylindrical system. Then here alpha 2 is tan inverse of 3 by R. We have found out R. Substitute here in the above equations. Alpha 2 will be equal to tan inverse of 3 divided by, that is 2.5. Okay. So I hope you have taken down these two figures, right? Have you all taken down these two figures here? I hope everyone have taken these two figures. Yes. Everyone have taken these two figures?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now here note down these steps, first three steps, and find out the value of alpha 2 and alpha 1. We know the equations here for alpha 2 and alpha 1, and we have found the value of R. Find out the values of alpha 2 and alpha 1. Done, students? What is the answer you are getting? Alpha 2 and alpha 1?
Sir, alpha 1 is 50.194 degrees. Alpha 2.
Okay. Okay. What about alpha 1?
Same value, only negative, sir.
Negative. Yes. Alpha 2 is 50.194 degrees. Alpha value is same. It is tan inverse of 3 by R only, but with the negative sign here. Alpha 1 is minus 50.194 degrees. According to Biot-Savart law, h bar is given by h bar is equal to I by 4 pi R into sine alpha 2 minus sine alpha 1 A5 bar. This is the formula according to Biot-Savart law, what we have derived in the previous class, this derivation. H bar is equal to I by 4 pi R sine alpha 2 minus sine alpha 1 A5 bar ampere per meter for H bar due to state conductor of finite length. H bar due to state conductor of finite length. Okay. And hence substitute the values. I value is 24 given. I is equal to 24 ampere current. That divided by 4 pi into R. R is 2.5 into sine of alpha 2. Alpha 2 is 50.194 minus sine of alpha 1 minus 50.194 degree into A5 bar. Note down up till this step and find out the value of H bar in terms of ampere per meter. This formula you will note down, substitute and tell me the answer. How much you are getting? What is the answer? How much you are getting here? Chandrasekhar, what is the answer? Pattar.
Doing, sir.
Do it fast. Janvi, Janvi, what is your answer? Okay. Rohan Timsani, Rohan.
Sir, doing, sir.
Okay. Rutvik, got the answer? Rutvik. Sai Prakash.
Sir,
Doing,
Gune
sir.
or Chup?
How much?
Sir, H bar is 1.1757, sir.
Correct. 1.1757 or approximately 1.1737 A5 bar ampere per meter. Up till 4 decimal places, if you calculate, you'll get around 1.1737 A5 bar ampere per meter. This is the H bar. Now we have to convert to rectangular system. We have to convert to rectangular system because the answer should be in terms of rectangular coordinates. Okay, because they have mentioned the point P, it is in rectangular or Cartesian. Rectangular or Cartesian, both are one and the same. The answer final should be in terms of rectangular or Cartesian coordinate systems. Because what is the question? Find the magnetic field density at this point P, right? Hence the answer. Let us calculate. Hx is equal to, if we want to find out x component of the magnetic field density H, this is whatever we have obtained here dotted with Ax bar. Hx is equal to, or Hx bar is equal to H bar dot Ax bar. H bar is 1.1737 A5 bar dot with Ax bar. 1.1737 A5 bar dot Ax bar. A5 bar dot Ax bar. You have to look into the dot operator table. The tables you all have to remember, very important. Dot operator table for converting from Cartesian to cylindrical, cylindrical to Cartesian, converting from Cartesian to spherical, spherical to Cartesian, right? Or for converting from cylindrical to spherical and from spherical to cylindrical. The dot operator table, you have to memorize them. Okay. Let us consider the dot operator table for converting from Cartesian to cylindrical. What we want here, A5 bar dot Ax bar. A5 bar dot Ax bar, this is equal to minus sin phi. Either you can operate Ax bar dot A5 bar, that is also minus sin phi, or A5 bar dot Ax bar, that is minus sin phi. Write down here. A5 bar dot Ax bar is minus sin phi, it is minus 1.1737 sin phi. Then Hy is equal to H bar dot Ay bar. If we want the Y component of magnetic field intensity, whatever we have obtained here in terms of cylindrical, that we have to dot with Ay bar. Then we'll get the magnetic field intensity Y component in Cartesian system. That is 1.1737 A5 bar dot Ay bar dot Ay bar. This will be A5 bar dot Ay bar. First it is A5 bar dot Ax bar. Now it is A5 bar dot Ay bar. Let us see the dot operator table. A5 bar dot Ay bar is cos phi. Write it. That is 1.1737 cos of phi. Hz is H bar dot Az bar. Similarly, Hz will be equal to H bar dot Az bar. It is 1.1737 A5 bar dot Az bar. A5 bar dot Az bar, let us see what it is. A5 bar dot Az bar is 0. A5 bar dot AZ bar is 0. Write down, it is 0. Then calculate the value of phi, because if we want Hx, Hy, then we have to know the value of phi, correct? So that we'll come to know the Hx and Hy in terms of Cartesian. That is, phi is given by tan inverse of y by x. Phi is given by tan inverse of y by x. That is, tan inverse of y is 2 and x is 1.5. They have given in Cartesian. Yes. So phi angle in terms of cylindrical, it will be tan inverse of y by x or tan inverse of 2 by 1.5. Calculate this and tell me how much you are getting. Okay. Note down up till this step. To convert to rectangular, hx, hy, hz, and then angle phi. Note down quickly. Make it fast. I hope you all have noted down, students here. Yes? You all noted down? Angle phi comes out to?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. 53.13 degrees. Now calculate sin phi and cos phi. Sin phi will be equal to sine of 53.13. That is, sine of 53.13 is 0.8. Similarly, cosine of 53.13 is 0.6. Okay. Substitute this sin phi and cos phi in the equations for hx and hy. Then we'll get hx is equal to minus 1.1737 into 0.8. This will be minus 0.94. Then hy, that is 1.1737 cos phi. This is further equal to 1.1737 into 0.6. This is 0.704. Fine. Then h bar is hx ax bar plus hy ay bar plus hz az bar. Okay. If we want the vector of the magnetic field density h bar, it is hx x component into ax bar plus y component into ay bar plus z component into az bar. Therefore, h bar will be equal to hx is minus 0.94 ax bar plus hy is 0.704 ay bar ampere per meter. Note down quickly till the last step. Is it taken, students? Taken?
Yes, sir.
Right. If such examples are asked, then you will have to first decide the polarity. Okay, the signs of alpha 1 and alpha 2, depending on whether the lower end and the upper end are below the point P, they are above the point P, or one is below and another one is above. Decide that and then go for calculation part. Okay, that is very important. Deciding the sign of the alpha 1 and alpha 2. Right. So such examples may be asked in examination. Next topic is Ampere's circuital law. We know that in electrostatics, what all we have studied in module 1 and module 2, Gauss law is used for solving the complex problems and in determination of the electric field intensity E bar. Correct. Similarly, in magnetostatics, there is a law called as Ampere's circuital law or Ampere's work law, which is used to solve complex problems. The Ampere's circuital law states that the line integral of magnetic field intensity H around a closed path is equal to the direct current enclosed by that path. The line integral of the magnetic field intensity H bar around a closed path is equal to the direct current enclosed by that path. This is what is called as the Ampere's circuital law or Ampere's work law. Both are one and the same. Okay, either it is called as Ampere's circuital law or Ampere's work law. The mathematical equation for the Ampere's circuital law is as follows. That is line integral, closed line integral of H bar magnetic field intensity with respect to the length dl bar, that is equal to the total current I enclosed by that path. Okay, that is the closed line integral H bar dot dl bar is equal to I. This is one of the important statements and the definition of the Ampere's circuital law. Let us try to go into the details of the Ampere's circuital law here. This is the proof of Ampere's circuital law, very important from examination point of view. Many times it has been repeated in the examination. Consider dl bar at point P here. At this point P, consider dl bar. Okay. Now, if we consider this dl bar, then the current carrying element is placed along the z axis. It is carrying the current I, and it is from minus infinity to plus infinity. The radius is R. It is at a perpendicular distance R from the that is conductor which is placed along the z axis and the point P, right? And then the current flowing through the conductor is I. The point P, at the point P we have the length, elemental length at which we are finding the magnetic field intensity is tangential to the circular path. This circular path, what we are seeing here, it is enclosing this conductor. The circular path is enclosing this conductor which is carrying the direct current I. And at the point P, the magnetic field intensity is tangential to this circular path. At the radius R, it is tangential to the circular path, and hence we are having only the component of H bar in the A phi bar direction. Because whatever is the magnitude at the point P, it is tangential to the circular path, and hence the magnitude is H bar, its direction is A phi bar. We are having only the component of H bar in the A phi bar direction only. Consider dl bar at point P, which is in A phi bar direction, tangential to the circular path at point P. Therefore, dl bar is equal to, what is the magnitude of dl bar? If we consider the elemental length here, the arc length, then the arc length is given by the radius multiplied by the angle subtended by that arc length. Correct? This we have seen in many of our classes. That is, arc length is given by the multiplication of the radius with the angle subtended, that is d phi. Therefore, dl bar is equal to r d phi is the magnitude, its direction is A phi bar. H bar obtained at point P from Biot-Savart law. From the Biot-Savart law, H bar obtained at point P due to infinitely long state conductor is given by the equation H bar is equal to I by 2 pi r A phi bar. This is the derivation that we did in the previous class. H bar is equal to I by 2 pi r A phi bar. Take it as equation 2. Now we have to find H bar dot dl bar, because according to the Ampere's circuital law, we have to prove that H bar dot dl bar closed line integral is equal to current I. Take the dot product of H bar and dl bar. H bar dot dl bar is equal to, H bar is I by 2 pi r A phi bar dot with dl bar, that is r d phi A phi bar. That is, A phi bar dot A phi bar is 1. We know that any unit vector dotted with itself is equal to 1. Therefore, we'll get I by 2 pi r r d phi. A phi bar dot A phi bar is 1. R and R will cancel. We'll get I by 2 pi d phi. I by 2 pi d phi. Now we have to integrate this to get the total H bar dot dl bar around the closed path. That is, the total line integral, closed line integral H bar dot dl bar is equal to integration from phi equal to 0 to 2 pi. It's a closed path. Therefore, the integral will be from phi is equal to 0 to 2 pi I by 2 pi d phi, I by 2 pi d phi. That is I by 2 pi, take it outside, it's a constant. Integration of d phi is pi over the limits 0 to 2 pi. Upper limit is 2 pi, lower limit is 0, and hence we'll get I by 2 pi into 2 pi minus 0, that is I by 2 pi into 2 pi. 2 pi and 2 pi will get cancelled, and that is further equal to I, which is equal to the current carried by the conductor. Hence we have proved the Ampere circuital law, that is the closed line integral of the magnetic field intensity, right, that is equal to the total current I enclosed by that closed path. The closed line integral of the magnetic field intensity with respect to the length is equal to the total current I carried by the conductor. And hence we have proved the Ampere circuital law. Is this clear here, students? Ampere circuital law is clear here? In examination, they may ask the definition and proof of Ampere circuital law. Definition and proof of Ampere circuital law. Okay. I hope it is clear to everyone. Proof of Ampere circuital law. Any difficulty
Yes,
here?
sir.
Okay, fine. Next is the steps to apply the Ampere circuital law. If we want to apply the Ampere circuital law, what are the steps that we have to follow? The same what we discussed just now. They are almost the same steps. Consider a closed path such that it encloses the direct current I. This is the closed path. Right? Here it is carrying the current I, and this is our closed path in for this particular consideration, for this particular case. It is the closed path is circular. Right? This is Amperian path. So this closed path is called as the Amperian path. Amperian path. Then second one, we have to consider the differential length dl, as we considered here, differential length dl according to the coordinate system used. Here we are using which coordinate system? A phi bar means it is cylindrical coordinate system. R, phi and z is cylindrical coordinate system. Then we can find out the equations also for Cartesian and spherical coordinate systems. We can do that. Okay, but for simplicity purpose, here they have considered the cylindrical coordinate system because the axis z on which the conductor is lying, it is nothing but the axis of the cylinder. The axis of the cylinder, it becomes simpler to do the derivation, and hence they are considering here the cylindrical coordinate system. But note that we can also find the equations in Cartesian and in spherical systems also. Okay. Next step, find in which direction h bar exists according to the coordinate system used. H bar existing in which direction? Here we found out that h bar is tangential to the circular ring because it is a phi bar. It is existing along a phi bar and tangential, and hence its magnitude is h bar, its direction is a phi bar. We have to find the direction of h bar. That is the third step. Fourth step, find the dot product of h and dl as we did here, h bar dot dl bar. Right? Then fifth step, take the integration of the dot product of h bar dot dl bar along the closed line integral, around the closed line integral, and equate it to the total current I. Equate it to the total current I. That is the fifth step. Find the integral of h bar dot dl bar around the closed path and equate it to current I enclosed by the path. These are the steps we have to follow to apply the Ampere circuital law. In examination, they may ask, write down the steps to apply the Ampere circuital law. You have to write down these steps and explain in few sentences about these steps. Okay. Next is the applications of Ampere circuital law. Here we have h bar due to infinitely long state conductor. In applications of Ampere circuital law, we are deriving the equations for magnetic field intensity, right? As considering the application of the Ampere circuital law. Using the Ampere circuital law, we are deriving the equation for the magnetic field intensity. That is for infinitely long state conductor, for finite long state conductor, for spherical conductor, for all these. That is what we call as the applications of the Ampere circuital law. Let us consider the conductor here. It is infinitely long state conductor lying along the z axis, and we are finding the magnetic field intensity at the point P. This point P, again, it is tangential to the circular ring. The h bar is tangential, as I told just now. It is lying on the a phi bar direction, and hence the magnitude is h bar and its direction is a phi bar. The current carried by the conductor is I. The radius is r. This radius is perpendicular here between the conductor and the point P. The magnitude of h bar depends on r, and direction is always tangential to the closed path, that is a phi bar, and hence h bar has only component in a phi bar direction. Say it is h phi. Consider elementary length dl bar at the point P, and in cylindrical coordinates it is r d phi a phi bar. That's what we found out just now. That is R d phi A phi bar dl bar in the previous derivation, proof of Ampere's circuital law. Correct. Next, find out the dot product. H bar dot dl bar is equal to H phi A phi bar dot R d phi A phi bar. That is A phi bar dot A phi bar is 1. Then we have H phi R d phi. H phi R d phi. According to the Ampere's circuital law, the closed line integral of H bar dot dl bar is equal to I. This is the definition of the Ampere's circuital law. Closed line integral of H bar dot dl bar is equal to I. Therefore, phi integration from phi equal to 0 to 2 pi, that is a closed line integral around the closed path. What we have found out here, H bar dot dl bar, H phi R d phi. Substitute that H phi R d phi. Then this is equal to I according to the Ampere's circuital law. Now integrate it. H phi R is constant, take it outside. Integration of phi equal to 0 to 2 pi d phi, that is equal to I. That is H phi R is constant, then integration of d phi with respect to phi is phi. Upper limit is 2 pi, lower limit is 0. So it is 2 pi minus 0 is 2 pi. H phi R into 2 pi, that is equal to I, or H phi is equal to I divided by 2 pi R. Hence H bar at point P is given by H bar is equal to, we have written here, H bar is H phi A phi bar. Magnitude is H phi and its direction is along the tangential direction, that is A phi bar. Yes or no? That is H bar is equal to H phi A phi bar. H phi is I divided by 2 pi R and A phi bar ampere per meter. And hence the magnetic field intensity H bar is equal to I divided by 2 pi R A phi bar ampere per meter for the infinitely long straight conductor. What was the H bar equation when we found out using Biot-Savart law? This is H bar equation that we are finding out using Ampere's circuital law. We have to clearly differentiate, okay, between the derivation of H bar using Biot-Savart law and derivation of H bar using Ampere's circuital law. They will clearly mention in the examination, derive the equation for H bar using Biot-Savart law. That means you have to go for the previous derivations as we did in the last class. This derivation, H bar derivation for the infinitely long straight conductor using Biot-Savart law. Right, using Biot-Savart law, what we did here, H bar is equal to I divided by 2 pi R A phi bar ampere per meter. This is from the Biot-Savart law. According to Biot-Savart law, we have done that. Okay. Now the same H bar equation for infinitely long straight conductor using Ampere's circuital law. Ampere's circuit law, we also get the same equation here as that we got for Biot-Savart law. That is H bar is equal to I by 2 pi R A phi bar ampere per meter. This is for the infinitely long straight conductor which is placed along the Z axis, but using the Ampere's circuital law. Clear here, students? This derivation is clear here. The question in exam, explain the applications of Ampere's circuital law, or they may ask, derive the equation for magnetic field intensity H bar due to infinitely long straight conductor using Ampere's circuital law. That means you have to use the Ampere's circuital law, closed line integral of H bar dot dl bar is equal to I, this equation definition, and accordingly you have to get the derivation of H bar, that is equal to I by 2 pi R A phi bar ampere per meter. Okay, so you have to be very much clear here. Biot-Savart law derivation of H bar, it is different, then derivation of H bar using the Ampere's circuital law is different. Don't mix up one with another. Okay, that you have to be very much clear. The steps for using Biot-Savart law and what are the steps for finding H bar using the Ampere's circuital law. Okay, so please practice the derivations and make them perfect so that you'll be able to clearly differentiate between the Biot-Savart law steps and the Ampere's circuital law steps. Okay. In today's class, we have discussed the sign convention for alpha 1 and alpha 2 for the derivation that we did in the previous class using Biot-Savart law. Then accordingly, we have solved one example on that to find the magnetic field intensity at the given point. We have used the dot operator table and Ampere's circuital law. We have defined the Ampere's circuital law. What is Ampere's circuital law definition? Mathematical representation of the Ampere's circuital law, right? That is closed line integral of H bar dot dl bar is equal to I, and proof of Ampere's circuital law. We have derived the Ampere's circuital law and we have proved that the closed line integral of h bar dot dl bar is equal to I. Okay. Then steps to apply the Ampere circuit law, which are the various steps. There are 5 steps to apply the Ampere circuit law. We have discussed that. And then applications of Ampere circuit law, we have taken the first application, that is finding out h bar due to infinitely long straight conductor. And we have finally arrived at the same equation, that is h bar is equal to I by 2 pi r A5 bar ampere per meter, which we have got using the Biot-Savart law also. Okay. Any difficulty here, students? Any difficulty here? I hope everybody understood. Sankalp?
No, sir, no difficulties.
Okay. Chandru Pattar?
Clear, sir. All clear, sir.
Okay. Rutvik? Understood? Rutvik?
Yes, sir. Understood, sir.
Okay. Janvi, is it clear today's discussion? Okay. Deepa Rathod, any problem in understanding? Deepa Rathod?
No, sir.
Okay. Karthik Patil, anything not understood in today's class? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. It's clear.
Sania? Vishal Vasolkar, any doubts? Vishal Vasolkar? Tejas, any doubts? Tejas? Okay.
No, sir.
Okay, students, we will continue with the next applications of Ampere circuit law, that is for the finite long state conductor and for the spherical conductor, that will take up in the next class. Thank you.